On June 18, President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, declaring that Iran had 2 weeks to surrender unconditionally and abandon its nuclear program, or face U.S. military intervention. As Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, pondered how to counter the U.S. threat, Trump stunned the world just 2 days later on June 20 by ordering an attack on Iran. Iran quickly realized that Trump's 2 weeks lasted a mere 48 hours. The pressing question for Iran became how to intercept U.S. missiles and stealth aircraft. The answer, in a grim twist, was to use its infrastructure as a shield. Today's analysis dives into how Iran leveraged its 3 nuclear facilities to intercept the massive GBU-57 MOP bombs deployed by the United States. In early June 2025, Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, became the hub for preparations for a large-scale airstrike operation codenamed Night Hammer, targeting Iran's key nuclear sites, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. The U.S. mobilized a formidable force of 125 aircraft, including 6 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, 40 FA-18 Super Hornet fighters, 20 EA-18G Growler electronic warfare jets, 30 KC-135 Stratotanker refueling aircraft, and 15 F-22 Raptor stealth fighters. The U.S. Navy deployed 3 Virginia-class nuclear submarines in the Arabian Sea, carrying 30 Tomahawk cruise missiles, each with a 1,000-mile range, a 1,000-pound warhead, and GPS IMS guidance ensuring accuracy within 33 feet. Allied bases in Qatar, Al Udeid, Diego Garcia, and Anderson in Guam were activated to provide logistical support for long-range operations. B-2 Spirit pilots underwent intensive training, focusing on endurance during prolonged missions with rotating cockpit shifts. Each aircraft was meticulously inspected, from its stealth coating to its GPS navigation systems, to ensure survivability against Iran's air defenses. The B-2's F-118 GE-100 engines, generating 17,300 pounds of thrust each, were optimized to minimize infrared signatures, while the flying wing design reduced radar cross-sections to under 1.1 square feet. The Pentagon and Central Command, CENTCOM, analyzed data from satellites and U-2 spy planes to pinpoint Iran's radar and surface-to-air missile SAM sites. A B-2 squadron from the 509th Bomb Wing was redeployed to Diego Garcia, leveraging its strategic position to shorten response times. The aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea was placed on high alert, ready to launch fighters for support. Equipped with the AN/SPY-1D radar and Aegis combat system, the carrier could detect targets 186 miles away and coordinate FA-18 operations. Flight paths and refueling points were simulated on advanced computers, with contingency plans for detection scenarios. Intelligence centers used AI models to predict Iran's responses, ensuring all possibilities were calculated. AI processed data from 12 reconnaissance satellites and 20 RQ-4 Global Hawk drones, delivering real-time maps of Iran's air defense positions. This preparation underscored tight inter-service coordination, betting on technology and tactics to cripple Iran's nuclear program. Operation Night Hammer launched at 3 a.m. local time on June 21, 2025, as 6 B-2 Spirit bombers departed Whiteman Air Force Base. Under cover of darkness, their engine noise blended with the wind, leaving only faint radar traces. Flying at 49,000 feet, the B-2s began their transcontinental journey, crossing air corridors over Saudi Arabia and Iraq. Refueling points were set in secure airspace, with KC-135 Stratotankers orbiting in figure-8 patterns. FA-18 Super Hornets and EA-18G Growlers launched from the USS Abraham Lincoln, tasked with escort and air defense suppression. Encrypted communications synchronized all actions, with command centers in Qatar and the US monitoring real-time data. The operation's primary weapon was the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator bunker-busting bomb, weighing 30,000 pounds, designed to destroy deeply buried targets. Each B-2 Spirit could carry only 2 due to their size. Made from high-performance steel alloy, the GBU-57 could penetrate 200 feet of reinforced concrete or rock. Military-grade GPS guidance, combined with 4 lattice fins, allowed trajectory adjustments during freefall, achieving accuracy within 16 feet. The bomb featured dual SDB fuses, a G-sensor for impact detonation, and a backup timer for optimal depth explosion. EA-18 Growlers deployed the ALQ-99 jamming system, disrupting Iranian radar and communications within a 62-mile radius. The ALQ-99 emitted broadband jamming signals, blinding Iran's Nebo-M and Ghadir radars and scrambling UHF-VHF communications. FA-18 Super Hornets, armed with AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles, Mach 4, 75-mile range, stood ready to engage enemy fighters. KC-135 Stratotankers, carrying 200,000 pounds of fuel, sustained the strike force. F-22 Raptors, with AN/APG-77 ASA radars and Mach 2 speed, ensured safe withdrawal. The F-22s carried AIM-9X Sidewinder missiles, 22-mile range, infrared seekers, to counter Iranian jets if needed. In total, 14 GBU-57 bombs were deployed, with 12 targeting Fordow and 2 hitting Natanz. 3 Virginia-class submarines launched 24 Tomahawk missiles at Isfahan, destroying nuclear fuel storage facilities. This arsenal showcased cutting-edge military technology, from precision guidance to stealth and electronic warfare. Inside the cramped cockpit of a B-2 Spirit, pilots kept their eyes locked on multifunction displays showing pre-programmed waypoints. After a 10-hour flight from Missouri, the F-118 GE-100 engines hummed quietly, while the stealth coating rendered the aircraft nearly invisible to radar. Approaching Saudi airspace, pilots received signals from KC-135 Stratotanker crews, indicating refueling points. Pilots adjusted throttles, slowing to 560 miles per hour, stabilizing the aircraft as the refueling boom connected behind the cockpit. The 10-minute process transferred 44,000 pounds of fuel, enabling the mission to continue. Via encrypted channels, pilots received reports from E-18G Growler crews that Iran's radars were jammed by the ALQ-99 system, crippling detection capabilities. Entering Iranian airspace, pilots switched to autopilot, relying on inertial navigation and GPS to avoid known S-300 missile sites. The mountainous terrain below appeared faint through infrared sensors, offering no cover. The B-2's AN/AAQ-33 Sniper infrared sensor provided high-resolution imagery, enabling pilots to identify Fordow through thick clouds. Pilots checked the bomb bay, confirming 2 GBU-57s were ready. At Fordow's designated coordinates, pilots opened the bomb bay, with displays showing the bomb's GPS-guided trajectories. Each GBU-57, released at 39,000 feet, fell for 40 seconds before impact, generating a shockwave equivalent to 10 tons of TNT. After release, pilots accelerated, banking westward as F-22 Raptors scanned for threats. During the strike, pilots received alerts from command that an Iranian radar had unexpectedly activated, prompting Growler pilots to intensify jamming. Iran's 29B6 container radar, with a 1,860-mile detection range, picked up a faint B2 signal, but couldn't lock on due to ALQ-99 interference. As GBU-57 bombs struck, pilots observed secondary explosions rocking Fordow via infrared sensors. Another B-2, targeting Natanz, executed a similar maneuver, dropping 2 additional GBU-57s to destroy underground bunkers. At Natanz, the blasts obliterated 4,000 IR-2M centrifuges, halting 70% of Iran's uranium enrichment capacity. During withdrawal, pilots faced a hastily launched S-300 missile salvo from Iran, but decoy flares and jamming from FA-18s ensured the B-2s evaded danger. The S-300 PMU-2 missiles, traveling at Mach 6, were misled by AN/ALE-50 decoys, detonating 1.2 miles from the B-2s. Pilots maintained constant communication with command, reporting status and receiving real-time guidance. Iran's air defense systems, though less advanced than America's, posed a significant challenge. Iran deployed low-band radars and S-300 missiles capable of detecting targets 124 miles away. Its Ghadir and Sapir VHF radars were designed to spot stealth aircraft, but their effectiveness was curtailed by electronic jamming. Iran scrambled aging MiG-29 and F-14 Tomcat fighters to pursue stealth jets. The MiG-29, with a Mach 2.4 speed and R-27 missiles 50-mile range, lacked AESA radars, rendering it blind to F-22s. Jamming from EA-18G Growlers disrupted Iranian radar and communications, preventing S-300 systems from locking targets. Some SAMs were launched, but U.S. decoy flares and false signals caused them to miss. Iran's command structure descended into chaos, with ground controllers unable to coordinate effectively amid jamming and the speed of the U.S. assault. Nuclear facilities were fortified with layers of reinforced concrete and earth, but these proved inadequate against GBU-57. Iran activated backup radars and short-range Tor-M1 missiles in a desperate bid to respond. A low-band radar at Isfahan briefly detected a faint B-2 signal, but Growler jamming neutralized it within 15 seconds. The radar, an upgraded P-18 variant, was disabled. Iran's outdated technology and lack of synchronization failed to halt the precision U.S. strike. Following the attack, Iran swiftly launched a counteroffensive targeting U.S. and allied bases in the region. On the afternoon of June 21, 2025, Iran fired over 200 short-range ballistic missiles, Fateh-110 and Zulfikar, from mobile launchers in western Iran, aiming at Al Udeid in Qatar and Prince Sultan in Saudi Arabia. These missiles, with ranges of 186 to 435 miles and 1,430-pound warheads, were designed to maximize damage to military infrastructure. The Fateh-110 used inertial and GPS guidance, achieving 66-foot accuracy, while the Zulfikar featured terminal maneuverability to evade interception. U.S. Patriot PAC-3 systems in Qatar intercepted 70% of the missiles, but some penetrated, damaging a logistics warehouse and injuring 5 U.S. service members. A Zulfikar missile struck a secondary runway at Al Udeid, disrupting flight operations for 6 hours. Simultaneously, Iran deployed 30 Shahed 136 drones, targeting the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. These drones, traveling at 115 miles per hour with 110-pound warheads, flew low to evade radar. However, the close-in weapon system, CWAS, on the escort destroyer USS Gravely, neutralized all drones at 3.1 miles. The Phalanx CWAS, firing 4,500 20mm rounds per minute, destroyed the drones in 10 seconds. Israel faced immediate repercussions. Hours after the U.S. launched Night Hammer, Iran retaliated with a massive missile assault on Israel, deploying its most potent weapon, the Khorramshahr-4, also known as Khaybar Sheikhan. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, claimed to have fired at least 40 ballistic missiles, including Khaybar Sheikhan, targeting strategic Israeli sites like Ben Gurion Airport, a biological research center, logistics hubs, and command facilities. The attack was in retaliation for U.S. strikes on Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. Western media noted that Iran's first combat use of Khaybar Sheikhan signaled an intent to deliver a powerful initial blow to pressure Israel and its allies. The Khaybar Sheikhan, a medium-range ballistic missile, MRBM, developed by the IRGC and unveiled in 2022, is a formidable threat. With a range of 1,243 miles, potentially extending to 1,553 miles, it can strike all of Israel from western Iran. Its 3,307-pound warhead, possibly up to 3,968 pounds in special configurations, supports multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, MIRVs, enabling attacks on up to 80 separate targets with high precision via satellite guidance and terminal seekers. Powered by the solid-fuel Arand engine, the missile integrates fuel within its body for compactness and stealth. Based on North Korea's Hwasong-10 and the Soviet R-27, it has been significantly upgraded with Iranian technology. Reaching 12,118 miles per hour during re-entry and featuring maneuverable re-entry vehicles, MARV, the Khaybar Sheikhan challenges advanced missile defenses. Israel, with robust preparations and a multi-layered defense system, responded swiftly. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, reported neutralizing several Khorramshahr-4 launchers before firing, using real-time intelligence from satellites and drones. The Iron Dome, Arrow 3, and David Sling systems activated as Iranian missiles entered Israeli airspace. Arrow 3, capable of intercepting ballistic missiles at 62 miles altitude, destroyed most Khaybar Sheikhan missiles mid-flight, while Iron Dome handled debris and low-altitude threats. Israeli F-35I Adir patrolled to neutralize secondary targets, securing airspace. Despite the Khaybar Sheikhan's maneuverability and speed, Israel's NNTPY-2 radar, supported by U.S. data, tracked and locked targets effectively. The IDF claimed a 75% interception rate, though some missiles breached defenses. Iran's attack caused notable but mitigated damage, thanks to Israel's defenses. Reports indicated 86 injuries, primarily in Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Nes Ziona, from missile debris and secondary explosions. Tel Aviv's mayor, Ron Huldai, confirmed significant damage to residential areas, with buildings and infrastructure disrupted. Ben Gurion Airport closed for 4 hours, delaying dozens of flights, but sustained no direct damage. The Biological Research Center and command facilities, heavily fortified, suffered minor damage due to early warning systems. Iran's goal of a massive blow fell short, causing only temporary disruption. Israel's resilience and advanced defenses averted a major catastrophe, bolstering confidence in its protective capabilities. On the morning of June 22, Iran escalated with 50 Qiyam-1 ballistic missiles targeting Israeli civilian and military sites, with explosions reported in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. The Qiyam-1, with a 497-mile range and 1,653-pound warhead, uses inertial guidance but has a 1,600-foot accuracy. Israel's Arrow system intercepted most missiles, though some damaged an oil refinery in Haifa. The Haifa blast destroyed 3 oil tanks, sparking a 12-hour fire and causing $50 million in losses. Iran claimed to have shot down a U.S. aircraft, but provided no evidence. Iranian cyber attacks targeted U.S. military communications, briefly disrupting Qatar's systems. A DDoS attack halted satellite communications at Al Udeid for 20 minutes before resolution. Iran's response was symbolic, lacking the firepower or precision to inflict significant harm. Beyond military retaliation, Iran employed economic warfare. On June 22, 2025, Iran announced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which handles 20% of global oil transport, in response to Night Hammer. Iran deployed 10 Hudong-class fast attack craft armed with C-802 anti-ship missiles and 20 explosive-laden unmanned boats to threaten tankers. This move raised fears of global oil supply disruptions, spiking prices. WTI crude oil rose 3.6% to $76.47 per barrel, while Brent crude climbed 3.2% to $74.59 per barrel. J.P. Morgan analysts warned that prolonged closure could push oil above $100 per barrel, fueling global inflation. U.S. stock indices reacted sharply, with the Dow Jones falling 1.8%, 769 points, the S&P 500 dropping 1.1%, and the Nasdaq declining 1.3%. The U.S. dollar gained 0.3% against major currencies, as investors sought safe assets amid escalating tensions. Gold, a safe haven asset, rose 1.4% to $3,431 per ounce, nearing record highs. Airlines like Delta and United saw shares drop over 4% due to rising fuel cost concerns. Asian and European markets also fell, with Japan's Nikkei down 0.9% and the UK's FTSE 100 off 0.4%. The U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain intensified patrols, deploying Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and P-8 Poseidon aircraft to monitor the Strait of Hormuz and counter Iranian sabotage. Iran's closure triggered an economic shock, raising inflation risks and complicating Federal Reserve interest rate policies. Israel faced domestic turmoil. On June 23, 2025, over 25,000 Israelis applied for emigration, driven by fears of prolonged conflict with Iran following Night Hammer and Tehran's missile reprisals. Over 60% of applications came from high-income families in Tel Aviv, with Canada and Germany as top destinations. Immigration offices in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem were overwhelmed, with long lines seeking visas for the US, Canada, and Europe. Families cited security concerns, particularly after Iran's missiles damaged Haifa's oil refinery and struck Tel Aviv. Israel's government urged calm, pledging enhanced defenses and U.S. cooperation to counter Iran's threats. 4 additional Iron Dome batteries were deployed around Tel Aviv, and F-35I Adir patrols increased along the Lebanon border. However, panic spread, especially after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared military operations would continue for days. International airlines like El Al reported surging bookings, with flights to the U.S. and Europe fully booked within 24 hours. El Al added 20% more flights to New York and London, but economy-class fares doubled to $2,500. This emigration wave reflected public fear and challenged the government to maintain stability amid escalating conflict. In a short time, this conflict has unleashed profound global consequences. With no signs of de-escalation and world powers yet to negotiate, the situation remains volatile. Stay tuned to our channel for the latest in-depth analysis of the ongoing conflict. For now, we sign off and look forward to bringing you more updates tomorrow at this time.